So much of parenting is about doing the dance between holding on and letting go. The most challenging phases are often those when we need to do both or jump quickly back and forth between the two in unexpected and unpredictable ways. The tween and teen years are all about this. As our kids enter these years, we need to create space for them to become independent, to make their own decisions, explore the world around them, to make their own mistakes and learn from them. And we have to do all this, of course, while also keeping them both physically and emotionally safe, which means establishing healthy expectations and holding boundaries. All the conflicts that arise will arise out of this tension. Your tweens and teens wanting to be free and you're wanting them to stay safe. Plus, all of this is happening, of course, within the context of the many changes that happen in kids' brains and bodies as they enter adolescence, all of which contribute to high emotionality, increased reactivity, and noticeable egocentrism. Tweens and teens test boundaries, they break household rules, they push us to our limits. They're supposed to. This is normal. It's what growing up looks like. And so you keep loving them deeply, unconditionally, while holding those boundaries intact. Even the most empathetic parent will still have times that test their patience in how they handle conflict and pushback from their tweens and teens. There will also inevitably be times your young person flat out breaks your rules. And of course, you're livid. What do you do in these cases? How do you discipline? Let's go there now. First, let's think about how overt conflict and outbursts, the heated arguments, the storming up the stairs, the slamming doors, how those can be handled. When a conversation becomes heated, the best thing to do is to give it some space and time. Often when feelings run high, situations feel urgent, but the urgency isn't actually real. Name what's happening and take a break. Make sure to use language that doesn't name call or point fingers, words like we or this or let's. So, for example, wow, this got really intense really quickly. Let's pause here to regroup and try again later after we've cooled off. At other times, though, calmer and cooler moments, it's super important to cultivate respectful communication, particularly around hot button issues that are causing tension at home. How do you do this with a tween or teen who is challenging every last bit of your patience? First, take some time to see if you can figure out the, or at least a, root cause of the conflict. Is your tween or teen hungry, tired, stressed? Are you? If you can identify this, you can respond in a more sympathetic way and respond accordingly. Second, as basic as it sounds, think about how you would want someone to talk to you. When there's tension between you and your partner or you and your best friend, what feels helpful? Or think about a boss you had at some point in your career, one you listened to because you wanted to, not because you had to. What did that person do to make you feel that way? Third, listen without an agenda. Listen to what your tween or teen is telling you, what their experience is. Put aside your own agenda and try to see things from their perspective in an open and authentic way. Fourth, remember that there is power in anticipating, or as I like to call it, pre-gaming. This means being aware of things coming down the pike that are likely to lead to potential big feelings or conflict and addressing them ahead of time. This gets easier with practice. Finally, when possible, and only you know your particular tween or teen and how they respond to this kind of thing, use humor. When we can insert levity into an otherwise heavy conversation or topic, it can be such a gift. All of that said, even with all of the respectful communication, empathy, and connectedness that exists between you and your tween or teen, it is still developmentally appropriate and expected that they will push limits, break rules, and challenge even the most patient parent. What happens then? What does discipline look like? There are a few principles that are helpful to keep in mind here. First, keep in mind that behavior is communication. Ross Greene, a well-known psychologist and author of many books, including The Explosive Child, talks about viewing behaviors we don't want or like as a reflection of unmet needs or lagging skills, which can be a really helpful lens in these cases. Let's take your teen breaking curfew as an example. They come in an hour after they're supposed to. You can ask yourself whether that behavior may represent an unmet need, in this case, say for freedom. Is your child telling you they need more freedom, albeit not in the most productive way? Is this a conversation you can have with them once the heat of the moment passes? Or is there perhaps a lagging skill, let's say in time management and organization, in which case a different approach is necessary? Like maybe it makes sense you recommend your child set a couple of alarms on their phone as curfew is approaching. When we see behavior as communication, this can be a very useful guide for figuring out next steps. Second, using positive reinforcement versus negative consequences is frequently more motivating to tweens and teens. This can be linked to larger values. So for example, if their goal is to earn autonomy and earn trust, then this can be concretized in the form of earning privileges that reflect that. Third, in the cases when we do opt to discipline our tween or teen, it is important to look not only at the action that was taken, but also the impact it had. So this way we can ensure that a repercussion or consequence is a fitting one. For example, if your child throws a party when you leave them alone one weekend, the impact is that you don't trust them. And so the consequence is that they need to come with you on the next annoying, at least annoying to them, trip that you have to go on. Or have someone stay to supervise them, or stay at a friend's where you call the parent first. This kind of a consequence makes more sense in the big picture than, say, taking away their phone or docking their allowance, because it's connected to the issue that arose between you in the first place. Remember, parenting a tween or teen isn't supposed to be a smooth ride. The bumps, even the full-on crashes, are part of the journey, and as trite as it is to say, they'll ultimately bring you closer, not just as parent and child, but as human beings. It may seem like your child is pushing you away, wants nothing to do with you. I promise that's not true. You are as valuable to them as ever, just in a very different way. You are not going to handle every conflict that arises perfectly, whatever perfection even means in this context. You are going to make mistakes and lose your patience and yell and get sucked into power struggles, because that's what happens to all of us.